This is a big topic, and as I've prepared, I've noticed my own unwillingness to own some of my own stuff. You know, I'm supposed to be the queen of this, I'm supposed to know, and yet I struggle. So have you ever said, it's not my fault, and I'm not to blame, and they did it, not me, and they didn't tell me either, and why didn't they? And. Have you ever done that? Come on, put your hands up, everybody. We have a penchant towards looking outside of ourselves for the things that are going on in our world. When our reasons and excuses and justifications are running our show, it becomes hard to see our part in what's going on. Today we're going to talk about what it takes for you and me to be responsible. And in our next webinar, we'll address what it takes to be accountable. So we want to really separate these two conversations. So in a fortnight, we'll do accountability. Today, we're doing responsibility. What does it take to be responsible? So welcome to our webinar on taking responsibility, the courage to do what's right. Let me paint a little picture for you of an experience of mine. Do you remember where you were on the day the Gulf War started? I can take you to the place that I was standing in my lounge room in Perth, Western Australia. 2nd of August, 1990. I don't know why, I had the radio on and they announced the Gulf War. In the moment that they announced the war and the bombs started dropping, they closed the Suez Canal. And you would go, well, so what? You live in Perth. Well, it was a big so what for me. We were importers of hydroponic hardware into Australia at that time, and we brought them from West Germany, Hamburg, to Fremantle through the Suez Canal. And it would take 4 to 5 weeks for a container to get from Hamburg to Fremantle. Now it was going to take 16 to 20 weeks, and I was undercapitalized. For those of you who are running businesses, you get what it means when something is undercapitalized. Hey, you ain't got enough money to fund your supply line. I was in big trouble. At the same time that this happened, I had built a business from nothing to $9 million in 3 years. And because I didn't have any product to sell now, and we were going to run out in less than 60 days, 60 people lost their jobs because we didn't have anything to sell. Here's the kicker though. My husband actually warned me. He said to me the year before, so this is not in August 1990, this is previous to the Christmas of 1989. He said, Jennifer, you need to do something. And guess what I did? All my arrogance, I said, it'll be all right. We're good. You watch. All the signs were there. And I dismissed him and shut him down. You never do things like that, do you? Shut people down. And when it hit, I had a great story. Well, I'm not responsible and I'm not to blame for geopolitics and the crazy Americans and Iraqis dropping bombs on each other. It's not my fault. And I can't control them. And I can't control the banks. You know, they won't give me any money. I'm a woman. Because 30 years ago, they didn't give us money, right? And so the story went on and on and on. Man, I was good at it. So, have you ever had those moments when you kind of knew that if you didn't take action, you were going to pay? That was me. And I was completely irresponsible around it. I'm sure you've all had your own Gulf War. So what's your Gulf War? The thing that you have deliberately dismissed, not been willing to engage in. For me, it was devastating. I can remember my hair falling out. I'd wake up in the morning and my pillow was black. My hair fell out because I was that stressed. All because I wouldn't take action and get responsible early enough. So, that's my story. What's yours? Well, one of my stories. I've got lots. You think I did this just once? I've done it lots. I can even do it today. So I still have that want to move away. So we're going to send you, as you know, to breakout rooms. And in our first breakout room, for those of you who are new, just give us your name, and those are old, introduce yourselves, your name, your company, your location, and just tell them, have you been on our webinar before? Because I can see lots of faces here of people who've been a few times. And our first question for today is, what does the word responsibility mean? What does it actually mean? Off you go to your breakout rooms. Responsibility. It's a big word, and I think for many of us it occurs as a burden. Today I want to give you some ways in which it's not a burden. What does the word actually mean? It means to take ownership for your mistakes and your victories. And then if you break the word down, it's the ability to respond. So everyone here has the ability to respond. Yes, you can respond. Now you want to notice when you don't. And you sit there waiting for some miracle to happen and it's not. So our ability to respond determines the depth of our responsibility. And when we do that, it makes all the difference. President Truman used to have a placard on his desk and it said, "The buck stops here." As a leader, the buck stops with you, whether you like it or not. So, to get responsibility, the ability to respond, remember the buck stops with you. And it is our pathway to freedom and losing the feeling of it being a burden. I've learned the hard way to take responsibility, or I was going to pay up big. So the buck stops here. One of the things that I say is you're either going to take responsibility or you're going to take orders. How many of you get some orders that you don't like? Things happen around you and you actually don't like it, right? That's because you denied that there was a problem. Remember my Gulf War story? I sat on it for that long. And then when I was given orders and I was being pulled on by the bank, pay your debts back, do all of these things, I was screaming about it like it wasn't my problem and I wasn't responsible. All of us have those moments in our lives where we will take orders because we didn't take responsibility. I was having that conversation with a client the other day and I just said, get responsible or take orders and you're not going to like them. So grow up. If you're going to lead, get responsible and be a grown-up. That's how it works. So it's not a burden when we do it. Have you noticed that when you do take action and you do it, suddenly everything goes, yeah? Notice that. That's because in the moment you take responsibility, you gain all the freedom and all your complaints and carrying on disappears and you have a pathway forward. So I'm going to send you to a breakout room. For many of you in this room, you are leaders. You're leading people. And whether you like it or not, they're watching you. And they're judging whether or not you actually act responsibly. Now, here's your next question. How does being responsible empower your team and your people? How does being responsible empower them? Off you go. So, how does being responsible empower your team? When we model responsibility for our people and show them that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we clean them up. So in last fortnight's webinar, we talked about how do you clean it up. We're not going to do that today. That's a big webinar. So go and listen to that one if you want to know about how to clean up your mistakes. When you own them though, and you acknowledge it, then you give your people the opportunity to do the same. So when we don't own up, we actually disempower them because they have no model to follow. Now, I love it, you know, like Tama, one of our associates that some of you have sat with, she always says to me, okay, Jennifer, it's time to cough up a lizard. Right? Tell them how really bad you are. And I go, well, no, and then they've got to know I'm perfect, right? But it's not true. I'm always coughing up lizards. I don't like it, but you do. And when we do, we give other people the freedom to do the same. And we actually create safety inside of your organization. So 3 webinars ago, we talked about the fun test. And one of the things that's important in the fun test is support. It's okay to make mistakes around here, right? When people make mistakes and they clean them up, you know what you can absolutely guarantee when they get responsible and you remain responsible around it and you're responsible for your response to what they're saying, you create increased effort. Don't do that, people will slack off because although it's okay, doesn't matter around here. You want to notice. So now I want to share with you one of our most important and probably best known lessons on responsibility. I created this flip chart about 25 years ago. And some of you may or may not have heard of what does it mean to live above the line. How many of you have heard that? Now you wonder what it is. What's living above the line? Okay, and I'm going to tell you how I created this. This came out of my desperation in a group of people that I was working with. They did not get what it meant to stay with being responsible, owning what's going on, and their capacity to hold people to account. So let me show you this. This is one of our biggest lessons. And it's the one that people have a lot of fun with. Not. Okay? They hate it. You go, that's a stupid thing that Jennifer made up. And those people who do play this game with us, their lives change. So you want to take a photo of this, please, everybody, if you've never seen it before and don't know it, because we're going to give you some homework. Now, all of you know that when you come along to an integrity and values lesson, webinar, workshop, join our Leadership in Action program with your team, let me tell you, get homework. And homework is the essence of what makes our programs work. So if you're living above the line with integrity, you take ownership. The O is for ownership. The R is for responsibility, which is what we're talking about today, ownership and responsibility. And the A is for accountability. Or you go below the line and you get into bed with blame or shame. You blame others, you shame yourself, or you shame them. Ever done that? Shamed someone because you didn't want to take responsibility? So you'll shame them or shame yourself. Excuses and justifications. Man, I have good ears for excuses and justification. I'm quick. One of our clients said to me once, "You're just too fast." I said, "Well, hurry up. Get with the program," right? Open your ears. Go wash them out. People say it in their language. And you, as a leader, want to be quick enough to hear it. Or they go into denial and defense. Yeah, they'll defend what they're doing, and they'll have their great story. So you'll see that bottom of the line there. This is all a big story that you make up, or what happened, so that you do not have to be responsible. Now, remember my Gulf War story? That's my story. I had great excuses. I could defend all kinds of nonsense that was going on there. None of it gave me any freedom. You live above the line, you live with freedom. You go below the line, you are a victim to the circumstances. Now, consider this. How much time do you spend below the line in your story? If we spend time there, we are at the mercy of someone else's response. Remember, take responsibility or take orders. What happens is you will now take orders because you're unwilling to be responsible. I've watched leaders live with hope. Oh, well, I'm hoping that they'll do a good job. Well, that's just another story. People will do the right thing if you demonstrate what it means to look like to be responsible. And you better let them know what the right thing looks like around here. By the way, if you're wondering where below the line is or what it looks like, just take a look at what you're resentful about, right? Tama gave me this saying some time ago. When you're below the line, you're resentful. And resentfulness is like, I drink poison and hope you die. How does that go? Because it's all inside of the story. So resentfulness is one of the best ways to notice your victimhood and how you're actually keeping it alive. So, it's a tough thing to live above the line, and it takes a lot of courage to do what's right. You'll eat a lot of lizards. Now, we're going to send you off to another breakout room, and our question this time is, what does it take? What would you need to give up about yourself to live above the line? What does it take? Off you go. Welcome back. What does it take to live above the line? I just noticed one of my little notes here that I didn't mention. The moment you go below the line, you remove choice. You are now shackled like a ball and chain to your story. And the only thing that you can live inside of is that story. I have a saying for you right now, and some of you may take offense. And for those of you who know me, you know how much I care about your offense. Get offended. Get really offended, because then maybe you'd stop being a victim. So you are only a victim once in your life. Every other time, you are a willing participant. In other words, you regurgitate and vomit up your story like it is happening now when it is not. And how do we as leaders interrupt the story? Now, it doesn't mean that something terrible didn't happen. Yes, it happened. It's not happening in this moment. So what are you willing to be responsible for right now? Right this moment. Remember my Gulf War story? I can assure you that if I hadn't learned to be responsible for what was happening, then what happened for us with COVID would be very, very different. We took action before the government shut us down. We did things to rearrange our business so that we could be here when we came out. Running these webinars was one of the first things. I can remember Jay saying to the team, well, we'll do webinars and we'll do them weekly. Well, we're so pleased that we're only doing them fortnightly. Because weekly, I think I'd have a nervous breakdown. Right? But fortnightly, I can just manage it. Right? I can get responsible around fortnightly. Weekly, you'd hear my story about what a hard job this was. With this, I have an opportunity to play with my team and they tell me all the stupid things that I'd say and I better go and do that again and get responsible, Jennifer. So it's been fun doing this and we are going to continue, definitely not fortnightly. Once we're all over this, we'll go to monthly. But it's been a great, great thing to learn how to do. So the courage to do what's right. So we have another flip chart for you, which is one of our famous ones as well, which is our courage flip chart. In order to stay above the line, know what you're committed to. Now, in the moment that you commit, we get everyone to learn a poem in our Leadership in Action program and they hate us. I don't know, freaking poetry here, yada, 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 they carry on. And I just go learn the poem and be quiet. Get responsible, right? Now, the first line of the poem, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. I can see some of their lips going because they know it now. So, get committed. What is it that you want? Now, in the moment that we commit or we say, yes, we're going to do it, you want to notice that all the doubt rushes in. So when you want to get responsible, suddenly all the things that you think maybe, could be, should be, is going to happen, it happens. Now, all you need to mitigate doubt is to get enough information so that you quieten down your emotional state. That's all you need to do. And then take action. Go and do what you said you were going to do. Get responsible. If you said it, now do it. Otherwise, you'll become a prisoner to that story and you'll go straight below the line and end up in bed with all your stories. Back to my stories and my story of the Gulf War. I am grateful now for that experience. It changed how we managed COVID in our business. And it was tough. I cried. And I think a lot of people here cried because it was scary. Like, what the heck? So, courageous action takes responsibility, and you do need to know what you're going to go and do. So, what does it take? To get above the line is that courageous action. Stay committed. I'm going to send you to your last breakout room for the day. And this one is, what is the language of responsibility? Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the language of responsibility? Off you go. Welcome back, everybody. What is the language of responsibility? What comes out of your mouth when things go wrong, or even when you have a victory that you don't own? I recall some years ago a client of mine saying to me, Jennifer, you not owning some of what you've done really, really well doesn't give other people the space to join you. I was so confronted. The same client had this experience. He was wandering, remember the Aura Baird flip chart? We've got it up here again for you. He was wandering through his factory one day, and they had taught this lesson to everyone in the business through our effective communication course. Anyway, he's wandering through his warehouse factory, and he was talking. I don't know what the conversation was about. This is what did happen though. One of the packers and pickers in the business turned round to him and said, hey, how about you get above the line? what you just said is completely below the line. And in fact, you're not below the line. You're not in bed. You're under the bed. So crawl out from under your hole. And he had to take a deep breath and go, I've empowered my people to challenge anyone in this business about living above the line. And then the guy said, and is that $2? So for all of our clients that are here, you know what that means. Is that $2? So this is our little $2 can. If you want to get your business into profit fast, then start calling $2 every time someone is below the line. So many of our clients are sitting there and they're nodding their heads, right? Now you make a lot of fun out of this game. So I'll hold it up here, right? This is a money can. And I used to cheat in our business, and I'd put $20 in here at the beginning of the week, you know, and go, well, I can do 10 below the line things. And then the team said, they catch up with me. Leave your $20. Now give us another 2 and another 2 and another 2. Because let me tell you, they're sharp, right? They can hear it. So what does it take to stay above the line? If you haven't got one of these, if you're one of our clients, and you're working with someone, you know that we are in your business and you haven't seen one of your leaders come to you and shake the tin, you better go, where's the tin? Because you're putting $2 in it for not even teaching me the lesson. Because I've just heard it. So where's your $2? Put it in. Now, the more $2's, that's good English, isn't it, that you put in this can, the more likely you are to take your business where you would really like it to go. And you got to turn on your ears and listen for the language of responsibilities. So when people are not being responsible, it will be, it's not my fault, they're to blame, no one told me, I never said that, or they didn't say that, how was I supposed to know? All that stuff comes out of their mouth. Alternatively, the language of responsibility starts with I. I didn't see that coming. I refused to see that coming. Remember my Gulf War? I refused to see that coming. I didn't know what to do, so I buried my head in the sand. I could have done something, and I didn't. I was too scared to do something. Now, that's the language of responsibility. It starts with, what could I have done that would have made a difference? What does it take to live above the line? What does it take to see your part in things? I heard this saying many years ago, and it has stuck with me, and I love it. It's by a man called Harvey Jackins. If I am willing to be responsible for the smallest atom in the farthest reaches of our galaxy, then what I do here and now would be different. Now, for some of you, if you've done your integrity and values profile and you score more than 7 or 8 on responsibility, you get this. You just go, yep, that's true. Now, for many people, they struggle with this one. They wonder what it's supposed to mean. And I recall some years ago when I put this up in a workshop, about 5 years later, this guy rings me after the program is even finished and he said, I got it. I said, what have you got? And he said, I got what it means if I am willing. We never said you had to, you got to, whatever else. It's if I am willing to be responsible for the smallest atom in the farthest reaches of our galaxy, then what I do here and now would be different. If I'm willing that every action that I take would be considered and maybe different, then you start living in the present. That's one of our other webinars. Go and listen to that one about what it takes to be in the present. I've gained freedom from often asking myself, what about the atom, Jennifer? What's the atom that I'm willing to walk past right now and not own? What will you ask yourself in your quest for responsibility and its accompanying freedom? Thank you for being here this morning.